what's going on. I've just seen the Joyce fight, Bryant Jennings. Listen, it was a good fight. I thought it was decent. It had quite a few dull moments in there. But let's break down the fight. In the first round, Joyce was doing a lot of showboating, doing a lot of dancing around, and I was like, this ain't Joyce's style. He's obviously now with Adam Booth, so I don't know whether that he's implemented that into his style, where he's moving around, changing the angles. But while doing that, Bryant Jennings caught him with a massive body shot, and I thought, Joyce was about to go. Bryant Jennings started attacking him, and he managed to, Joyce is very tough. He managed to ride it out and go till the end of the round. And then after that, Joyce started getting into his own. He started using his size and physical advantages that he had over Bryant Jennings and started battering him. Bryant Jennings was probably a little negative. I think he could have gone for it a little more, but the problem was, I think Joyce's chin is unbelievable. Bryant Jennings had his moments in a lot of that fight. He caught Joyce on a number of occasions. He caught him with a lot of shots. But I think Joyce's output won him that fight. I don't think, unfortunately for Bryant Jennings, I just don't think he was active enough. I think Joyce was too active, was throwing too many punches, which meant that Joyce wasn't able to, Bryant Jennings wasn't able to, win the fight, or ever looking like he was going to win the fight, unless he caught him with a big shot, because it just always looked like Joyce was outworking him, and I think that's what the commentators were saying, and I think that's what the judges' scorecards echoed at the end of the fight. I think Bryant Jennings put up a good display, but I do think he could have gone for it a little bit more. I think he was a little negative, which probably resulted in him losing the fight. So I think he could have been a bit more aggressive. I think he could have gone for it a little more. But I just think he was probably a little negative, if I'm honest with you. A little negative. And that cost Bryant Jennings. But, Joyce is a good fighter. He's obviously a guy that they're trying to fast track. They're trying to put him on at the age of 33, they need to move him quickly. And I think that's what they're doing. That, many people thought in the trade that this Bryant Jennings fight will be a tough fight. And I think it was a tough fight for Joyce, but he came through it in flying colours, with flying colours. So, you've got to give Joyce a lot of credit. He's moving very fast. In his 10th fight, he's fighting guys like Bryant Jennings, which is who's a very good fighter, who's only lost to Vladimir, I think, and Luis Ortiz. So I think Joyce has obviously entered good company. But I think Joyce has his limitations. I think he's quite robotic, and I think a guy with nimble feet like Tyson Fury, his own size, his own size of heavyweight, I think would cause him a lot of issues. I think Fury is a big problem for someone like Joyce, who's slow, flat-footed. I just feel that someone like that is sort of stylistically all wrong. But I do think Joyce is deceptively quite fast. He's not as slow as he looks. He doesn't look that great, but he is deceptively quickish. Not to the extent where he'll be able to match someone like Tyson Fury, but anybody else. I think Joyce is probably a lot better than what he looks and the impression we get from outside. Also, he's got a great chin, which will help him, when he goes up against the top guys. I think Joyce's chin is probably one of the best in the heavyweight division. There's not many heavyweights that can take punches like Joyce. Joyce takes some flush punches, and he takes them very well. However, in this fight, I did see him in the first round hurt with a really bad body shot, which, a body shot can cripple anybody. So it doesn't matter how good your chin is. We know that if you get caught with a good body shot, it hurts you. And Joyce admitted himself that he caught him with a body shot that did hurt him. So Joyce admitted that himself. And you could clearly visibly see when he got caught with that body shot in the first round, his hand, his right hand came down to protect the area. You could clearly see he was really, really hurt by that. And even the way he reacted to it, how the round went after he got hit with that body shot, you could clearly see that, Joyce was visibly hurt by that shot. But nevertheless, like a true warrior, he got through it. and he managed to come through and get the win, and now it's on to bigger and better things. Who next for Joyce? You know, we want to see Joyce fight some of the top guys. Who could be next? I think someone like Jarrell Miller will be a good fight for Joyce. That's a great fight. Adam Konaki. I think Joyce should be fighting guys of that level. Charles Martin, somebody, you know, guys of that level now. I think he's ready. He's a good fighter. He's Olympic silver medalist. It's time to let him off the leash and fight guys of that level, caliber now. I think Joyce is more than ready. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you thought of his performance against Bryant Jennings. Were you impressed? Were you not impressed? Leave your thoughts, and I'll reply back to all of you as much as I can. Leave your thoughts, guys, and guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.